The flames licked up from the metal trash can in the backyard like they were hungry for more than just paper, devouring the Polaroid I'd snapped with Xavier last summer at the county fair. Our arms slung around each other, cotton candy stuck to his grin, my hand brushing his waist in that secret way that made my heart stutter. Chief Harlan Whitaker, Xavier's old man, stood there in his crisp police blues, the badge on his chest catching the firelight like a warning flare. His face twisted not in anger but something worse. Disgust, pure and paternal, as he muttered, "This ends tonight, boy." I froze behind the fence, my cleats sinking into the dew-soaked grass, the whistle from practice still echoing in my ears, because in that split second, I knew the team I'd bled for was about to become my battlefield. I'd always figured coming out in a town like Milford, Ohio, where Friday nights meant bonfires and gridiron glory, and Sunday mornings were all about grace over gravy, was like volunteering for target practice. But Xavier, he was the exception, the golden boy quarterback with the easy laugh and eyes like polished oak, who made sneaking kisses behind the bleachers feel like stealing stars. We met freshman year at Milford High, him slinging passes like he owned the wind, me catching them as the wide receiver with dreams bigger than this Rust Belt speck on the map. "Elliot," he'd say, his voice low after a win, "you're the only one who sees the play before I throw it." And damn if that didn't make me fall harder each time. But secrets in a small town are like cracks in the ice. They spread fast. It started with whispers in the locker room, the kind that slithered under the steam from the showers. "Saw him too close at the diner. Whitaker's kid." "No way." Coach Harlan, Xavier's dad, though back then I just called him Sir, ran interference like he was calling defensive plays. He was the chief of police, after all, the guy who kept the peace with a handshake and a sidearm, his face on every see something, say something poster downtown. I'd idolized him once, back when I was a scrawny kid idolizing the badge more than the game. Now, he was the wall between me and the boy I loved. That night, after the fair photo went up in smoke, I bolted home through the back alleys, my jersey still damp from evening drills, heart pounding like I'd just run a 90-yard sprint. My mom was in the kitchen, humming along to some old Springsteen on the radio, oblivious as she stirred chili for one. Dad split when I was 8, left us with a stack of bills and a fridge full of regrets, so it was just us against the world. Her working doubles at the mill, me hustling scholarships to get out. "Rough practice, El?" she asked, not looking up. I mumbled something about cramps and slammed my door, collapsing onto the bed where Xavier's hoodie still smelled like him. Turf and teenage rebellion. By morning, the school buzzed like a hive kicked over. I laced up my sneakers in the parking lot, backpack slung low, when Tommy Reyes, our linebacker, the one with the snake tattoo peeking from his sleeve, cornered me by the flagpole. "Heard about you and Zav. That true?" His eyes were hard, but there was a flicker, like he was testing waters he didn't want to drown in.
He swallowed, tasting bile.
"What's it to you?" He shrugged, but the punch came anyway. A glancing blow to the shoulder that sent me staggering. "Just keeping the team clean, man. Chief's orders. Chief's orders." The words clawed at me all through homeroom, where I doodled plays in the margins of my notebook, erasing Xavier's initials before the teacher could see. Lunch was worse. The cafeteria a gauntlet of stairs, the football table a no man's land. I grabbed a tray and sat alone by the vending machines, picking at mystery meat while the whispers grew thorns. That's when Xavier slid in across from me, his tray clattering like a declaration. "El, ignore them. That, he didn't mean it. He's just scared." I cut in, my voice sharper than I intended. Xavier's jaw tightened, that quarterback resolve cracking. Protective. Of the town. Of me. I wanted to scream that protection felt a lot like a prison, but instead, I reached under the table, our fingers brushing, just enough to remember why we fought. Practice that afternoon was hellfire. Coach Harlan blew the whistle like it was a summons to judgment, his eyes drilling into me as we ran suicides on the turf. "Hawkins!" he barked after I dropped a pass that should have been mine. "You think this is Pee-wee? Get your head in the game or get off my field." The guys chuckled, but Xavier shot me a look. Half apology, half plea. We huddled up for plays, his hand on my shoulder lingering a beat too long, and for a moment, under the roar of the crowd in my head, it was just us. The rhythm of snap, hike, throw, catch. But as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in bruise purple, Tommy accidentally clipped me during a scrimmage, sending me sprawling into the end zone mud. Xavier was there in a flash, hauling me up, his grip fierce. "You okay?" "Yeah," I lied, wiping blood from a split lip. "But this? It's not over." That night, Xavier snuck over after his dad clocked out for the graveyard shift. We met at the old quarry pit on the edge of town, where the water gleamed black under a half-moon, and the air hummed with crickets and unspoken fears. He pulled me close, our breaths mingling in the chill, and for the first time he broke. He found the photo in my drawer, said it was a phase, that I'd ruin everything. My future, the team, him. Tears tracked down his face, illuminated by the faint glow of his phone screen. I cupped his cheek, thumb tracing the line of his jaw. "And you? What do you say?" He leaned in, our foreheads touching. "I say you're my future. Screw the rest." We kissed there, slow and desperate, the world narrowing to the salt on his lips and the steady thrum of his heart against mine. It wasn't about fire or frenzy. It was anchor in the storm, the kind of love that whispers, "We'll make it." But Milford doesn't do whispers. By midweek, the flyers appeared. Grainy printouts of that fair photo, doctored with devil horns and slurs, taped to lockers and shoved under windshield wipers. Fag football, one red, with my jersey number circled in red. The team fractured like cheap glass. Some guys ghosted me in the halls, others muttered prayers under their breath. Coach Harlan called a team meeting in his office after school, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and authority. Xavier sat rigid beside me, his knee pressed to mine under the desk. "This team's about unity," the chief intoned, his voice gravel over steel. "Distractions tear us apart. Hawkins, you're benched until you sort your priorities." My stomach dropped. "Sir, with respect." "Respect?" He leaned forward, eyes like twin barrels. "You think parading this around my son shows respect? To me? To this town?" Xavier exploded then, chair scraping back. "Dad, it's not a parade. It's my life." The room went tomb silent, the betrayal hanging heavy as Harlan's face drained of color. "Out, both of you." We stormed into the parking lot, rain starting to spit from iron-gray clouds, Xavier's fists clenched at his sides. "I can't do this anymore, El. He's my dad." The words landed like a blindside tackle. "What are you saying?" My voice cracked, the downpour soaking us through. He turned, water streaming down his face, mingling with something that looked a lot like goodbye. "I'm saying, maybe we pause. For the playoffs. For him." Pause? Felt like amputation. I grabbed his arm, desperate. "Zev, this isn't you talking. It's him. Burning photos, benching me, turning the team against us." He yanked free, eyes wild. "You don't get it. He's the chief, he could ruin you. Your mom, the scholarship scouts. I won't let that happen." And then he was gone, taillights blurring into the storm, leaving me shattered on the asphalt, the rain washing away what was left of us. The benching hit harder than any hit I'd taken on the field. Days blurred into a gray haze, mornings choking down oatmeal while Mom fretted about boy troubles. Afternoons wandering the empty bleachers, tracing the ghosts of our cheers. The team marched on without me, Xavier at the helm, his throws precise but his eyes haunted, darting to the sidelines where I wasn't. Tommy cornered me again one evening post-drill, his bravado softened by a six-pack hidden in his truck. "Look, El, Chief's got the whole force leaning on us. Said it'd look bad if we didn't. Clean house." Betrayal soured the air between us. "You? His errand boy now." He shrugged, offering a beer I waved off. "Nah, man. Just surviving." "But Zav? He's breaking inside." Yells at his old man, then apologizes. Rinse. Repeat. For the first time, I saw the cracks in the armor. Not just ours, but the town's. Milford wasn't built for this. It was cornfields and casseroles, flags at half-mast for fallen officers, not boys loving boys under the goalposts. I threw myself into the shadows of the game, volunteering as water boy just to stay close, catching Xavier's glances like errant passes. One night, after a brutal loss to Riverton, our rivals who smelled blood in the water, the locker room emptied slow, tension thick as fog. I lingered, folding towels, when Xavier slipped in, still in his pads, sweat slick and spent.
El.
His voice was a rasp, the door clicking shut behind him. We collided then, not with words but need, the kind that builds in silence, fierce and forgiving. His hands framed my face, thumbs brushing away the damp on my cheeks. I was wrong. Pausing? It's killing me. I pulled him closer, our foreheads meeting again, breaths sinking like a well-timed play. Then don't. Fight with me. In that dim fluorescent glow, amid the echo of slamming lockers, we vowed it. No more hiding, no more ashes. Love wasn't a phase. It was the halftime show we'd rewrite. Words spread like wildfire through dry grass. By Friday's game against Central, the stands thrummed with more than cheers. Protests simmered on the sidelines, picket signs bobbing like buoys in a hate-filled sea. Protect our kids, family values first. Mom gripped my hand from the family section, her knuckles white. You sure about this, baby? I nodded, the weight of the whistle around my neck feeling like a medal. Coach Harlan had relented, barely, after Xavier threatened to quit. His face a thundercloud as he subbed me in at the third quarter, down by 14. The crowd's roar twisted, boos mingling with support. But I tuned it out, eyes locked on Xavier in the huddle. Route 72, slant left, he called. But his add-on was for me. I love you, L. Go long. The snap came and time stretched like taffy. I bolted downfield, legs pumping through the mud, defenders blurring past. Xavier's arm whipped back, the ball arcing perfect. A spiral of promise against the floodlit night. I leaped, fingers grazing leather, and pulled it in, tumbling into the end zone as the whistle blew. Touchdown. The stadium erupted, a cacophony of confusion and catharsis. But I didn't hear it. I rose, ball cradled, and turned to Xavier, who sprinted the length of the field, helmet flying off as he crashed into me. We hugged there, unashamed, his lips brushing my ear. We did it. The team piled on, tentative at first. Tommy's slap on my back the hardest. Then genuine, a dogpile of sweat and solidarity. But the chief wasn't done. Halftime found him storming the field, badge flashing under the lights, his voice booming over the PA like a verdict. This is my town, my team. You think you can parade this filth and call it victory? The words hung venomous as he jabbed a finger at us, his face a mask of fractured pride. Xavier stepped forward, rain now sheeting down, turning the turf to rivers. Dad, stop. It's not filth, it's me. Us. Harlan faltered, the crowd holding its breath, and in that raw gap, I saw it. Not just the badge, but the man, broken by his own rules. Son, he choked, voice cracking like old leather. What happened to the boy I raised? Xavier's reply was steel wrapped in sorrow. He's still here, just whole now. The second half was poetry in motion. Drives that danced, tackles that thundered, us unbreakable at the core. We won by 7, the final gun a gunshot of grace. But the real climax unfolded in the parking lot, under the sodium haze of street lamps. Harlan waited by his cruiser, arms crossed, but his eyes, they were searching, not accusing. Xavier faced him first, me a step behind.
I'm sorry, Dad.
For lying. For the pain. The chief's shoulders sagged, the uniform suddenly too heavy. I burned that photo because it scared me. Losing you to this. He gestured vaguely, then met my gaze. Hawkins, you play like hell, and you make my boy smile. That's more than I ever gave him. It wasn't absolution, not yet, but it was a bridge, tentative rain slick. But there. We drove home that night, Xavier's hand in mine over the console, the wipers swiping away the storm. Milford slept uneasy, but in our corner of it, something bloomed. Not fireworks, but fireflies. Soft, persistent light. Months later, at graduation, with scouts in the stands and Mom beaming from the bleachers, Xavier and I walked the stage side by side, diplomas in hand, rings glinting subtle on our fingers. The chief sat front row, clapping louder than most, his nod to me a quiet truce. Betrayal had scorched us, conflict had carved us deep, but love? It rebuilt, brick by humanistic brick. In America, where the fields are wide and the fights are fiercer, we learned that playing on together was the only win that lasted. The summer after graduation hit Milford like a heat wave from hell, the kind that turns asphalt to tar and tempers to tinder. Xavier and I had scraped together community college funds. Me on a partial athletic scholarship to the local junior college. Him riding academic chops and a reluctant nod from his dad. We rented a shoebox apartment above the hardware store on Main. Walls thin as promises, but it was ours. Posters of Lombardi quotes peeling at the edges, a mini fridge humming lullabies, and nights tangled in sheets that smelled like cheap detergent and forever. "Think we'll make it, El?" Xavier murmured one dawn, his head on my chest, fingers tracing the faded scar from that central game clip. I kissed his temple, tasting salt and certainty. Longer than this heat. But peace in Milford was a fragile truce, bought with concessions we hadn't named. Chief Harlan showed up Sundays for family dinners, his cruiser idling curbside like a watchdog, plates passed with small talk about weather and warrants. He'd gruffly ask about my lifts. "Keep that arm strong, kid." And once, after too much iced tea, admitted, "Saw my first protest march in '68. Thought we'd learned by now." It was progress, jagged but real, the man thawing under his starched collar. Still, the town simmered. Church bulletins with veiled warnings. Graffiti scrubbed from our building's brick that read, "Sodom next exit." Tommy Reyes, now pumping gas at the Shell, clapped my back at the pump one day. "Heard you're starting for the Comets. Don't let the big leagues bench you for, you know." His grin was half-hearted, the betrayal's echo faint but there. Fall semester kicked off with a vengeance. Classes a blur of Psych 101 and playbook diagrams. Practices leaving us bruised and bonded. Xavier majored in criminal justice. "Gonna fix what Dad broke," he'd joke, while I chased kinesiology, dreaming of NFL tryouts that scouts whispered about in emails. Our rhythm held. Morning runs along the river, where the Ohio rolled lazy and forgiving. Evenings grilling burgers on a rusty hibachi, laughing over burnt edges. Stolen moments in the stacks of the library, his hands slipping into mine under the table like a secret code. Romance wasn't grand gestures. It was the way he'd leave my favorite Gatorade in the fridge, or how I'd hum off-key to his guitar strums until he cracked up and pulled me down with him. Then came the betrayal's second act, sly as a fumbled snap. It started with a letter, crisp envelope in the mail slot, no return address. I tore it open over coffee, Xavier peering over my shoulder. Anonymous tip to Milford PD. Suspected drug activity at 147 Main Street, apartment 2B. Check the basement vents. My gut twisted, our place. What the hell? Xavier's face paled, connecting dots faster than I could. Dad wouldn't. Would he? But the cruiser rolled up that afternoon, 2 uniforms in tow, the chief himself directing from the sidewalk, his expression unreadable as stone. They searched polite like, gloves snapping, but found zip. Our lives too threadbare for secrets beyond takeout menus and tangled chargers. "False alarm," Harlan grunted, but his eyes skipped mine, landing heavy on Xavier. "Be careful who you trust, son." The accusation hung like smoke, choking our air. That night, Xavier confronted him at the station, me pacing the lot outside, the neon police sign buzzing judgment. Through the window, I saw silhouettes clash. Arms gesturing, voices rising, then Xavier storming out, face a storm front. "He swears it wasn't him," he said, sliding into the truck, but doubt dripped from every word. "Said some busybody called it in. But why our place? Why now?" I pulled him close over the gearshift, the cab a cocoon against the chill. "Because we're a threat to the order he clings to." We drove in silence, the radio crooning some country ballad about lost highways, and I wondered if love was enough to outrun the ghosts. Suspicion festered, turning dinners to interrogations. Xavier withdrew, burying in textbooks, his laughs rarer than rain. I threw harder at practice, channeling rage into routes that left defenders grasping air. But the scouts' notes turned tepid. Great hands, but focus wavers. Off the field, the town closed ranks. Old teammates nodding cool at the diner, Mom's coworkers side-eyeing her at the mill. One evening, after a grueling doubleheader scrimmage, I found the apartment door ajar, a shadow slipping out. Heart slamming, I lunged, only to catch Tommy Reyes, duffel slung over his shoulder, eyes wide as saucers.
El.
Chill man, Zav, let me crash. Truck broke down. Relief flooded, then wariness. What's really up? He shifted, tattoo flexing. Heard about the raid. Thought, maybe I could help. Dig around, see who tipped. It was a lifeline tenuous as twine. Tommy, it turned out, had cracks of his own. A brother who'd come out years back, shipped off to rehab that broke him worse. Chief's not all bad, he admitted over beers at the quarry, the water lapping like confessions. But he's scared. Of change. Of losing control. We schemed loose. Ears to the ground. Questions in low voices. But betrayal has teeth, and it bit deep when Xavier confessed. Late one night, curled against me. I told Dad about the letter. Thought it'd clear the air. My blood ran cold. You what? He promised it'd stay quiet. Panic clawed up my throat. Zav, that's us handing him the playbook. Sure enough, the floodgates cracked. Whispers turned to warnings. Notes on our door, leave or else. Tires slashed on my truck, the sharp hiss echoing like laughter in the dark. Practice became peril. A cheap shot from a rival lineman cracking my rib. Coach sidelining me with a get your head straight that reeked of Harlan's influence. Xavier and I clung tighter, our love a bulwark. Walks in the woods where leaves crunched underfoot like fragile hopes. Letters folded into his locker. You're my MVP, always. Stolen dances in the kitchen to Motown on the radio. His head on my shoulder, world fading to sway and sigh. Remember the fair? He'd whisper. Cotton candy and us against the Ferris wheel.
Ide not, truatikt.
Burned or not, it's etched here. Tap my heart. The climax brewed slow, then stormed in November, playoffs looming like a guillotine. A tip line flooded with calls, fabricated vicious, pinning petty thefts on the queers upstairs. Harlan's face aged a decade in the local paper's op-ed, defending due process, while the town howled for heads. Xavier snapped at last, confronting his dad in the kitchen, pots simmering forgotten on the stove. I stood sentinel in the hall, eaves dropping on thunder. You did this to protect your image. Harlan's roar. To protect you from them, from ruin. Silence, then a crash, plate shattering like trust. Xavier emerged, shattered too, grabbing my hand. We're done hiding. Tell the team. Tell everyone. The press conference was Coach's idea, a desperate bid for unity before the semifinals against Dayton. We stood on the 50-yard line, floodlights harsh as truth, mics thrust like spears. Xavier spoke first, voice steady as his spiral. I'm gay. Elliot's my partner. And we're damn good at what we do, on this field, in this town. Gasps rippled, flashes popped, but then cheers, scattered, swelling. From the bleachers, Mom's voice piercing loudest. Harlan watched from the sidelines, arms folded. But when the questions turned to him, Chief, your stance. He stepped up, badge glinting. My stance? Is personal. But this team's family. And family's messy. We fight, we forgive. We play on. It wasn't endorsement, but it was exhale. A father choosing love over legacy, however halting. The game that followed was legend. Us down by 10 at the half, rain lashing like lashes, but we rallied, me hauling in a Hail Mary over double coverage. Xavier scrambling for yards that defied physics. Final score, 28-24, Milford's miracle. In the roar, as confetti rained and teammates mobbed, Harlan pulled us aside, his grip firm on our shoulders. Proud of you, son. Both of you. Tears mixed with turf in my eyes. Betrayal's burn faded to scar, a reminder of resilience. Winter brought quiet mending. Holiday lights strung in our window, Mom's turkey thawing old grudges. Tommy's wedding invite with a scrawled, "Brought this on yourself." In a good way. Xavier and I planned ahead. Transfers to state schools, scouts circling warmer. Love deepened, not in drama but dailies. Shared silences over coffee, arguments over laundry that ended in laughter. The humanistic hum of building life from ashes. Milford wasn't paradise, but it was home. Flawed, fierce, and ours to reshape. Spring unfurled in Milford like a tentative flag, dogwoods blushing pink against the steel-gray sky. But the real bloom was in us. Xavier and me, roots digging deeper into soil we'd once thought barren. College life at Ohio State swallowed us whole. Sprawling campus alive with Buckeye banners, lectures halls echoing with debates that made small-town scandals feel quaint. I walked on to the football team, redshirt freshman grinding for carries, while Xavier dove into poli-sci, his essays sharp as his passes on systemic bias and badges. Weekends meant drives back home. The highway a ribbon of reconciliation. Harlan's texts evolving from curt check-ins to game on TV. Grab a beer. Yet scars itch, and ours did when the alumni magazine ran a puff piece. From Milford mud to Buckeye glory, Elliot Hawkins' unlikely rise. Buried in the fluff was a line that twisted the knife. Overcame personal distractions to focus on the field. Distractions. The word slithered through fan forums, reigniting embers. Trolls typing, wonder what kind of distractions, boyfriend blues? Xavier laughed it off over ramen in our dorm, but I saw the flinch, the way his fork paused mid-twirl. They're ghosts, L. Let 'em haunt someone else. I pulled him onto the futon, our legs tangling easy. As long as they don't haunt us. We made love to the rhythm of distant frat chants. Gentle, affirming, a reaffirmation that bodies were homes, not battlegrounds. The conflict reignited proper at homecoming, Milford High's field dressed in crepe paper and caution. We rolled in Friday, truck bed loaded with coolers for the tailgate, Mom's hugs enveloping like quilts. Harlan clapped my back harder than necessary. Heard you're starting Saturday. Make us proud. His eyes holding mine a beat longer, a silent sorry in the squint. The game was a rout, us alumni crushing the JV squad in a charity scrimmage. But the after-party at the VFW hall turned tense. Beers flowed, toast sloshed, until some old-timer, face like weathered oak, voice pickled in regret, cornered Xavier by the jukebox. Heard your pa finally saw the light. Took him long enough. My boy. Well, he didn't make it. Jumped the quarry after the whispers got too loud. The room hushed, the air thickening with unspoken eulogies. Xavier's face drained, hand finding mine under the table. I'm sorry, sir. Truly. The man waved it off, eyes glassy. Just, don't let 'em win. Love hard, kid. It's the only rebellion that sticks. That story clung like burrs, forcing us to reckon with the town's underbelly. The suicides scrubbed from obits, the families fractured in silence. Betrayal wasn't just Harlan's photo pyre. It was systemic, a quiet cull of the different. We channeled it into action. Xavier organizing a GSA chapter at the high school. Me speaking at assemblies on teamwork beyond the lines. Harlan even showed, awkward in khakis, badge boxed away, his presence a bridge we crossed gingerly. Didn't raise no quitter? He grumbled after one talk, but the squeeze on my shoulder said more. Summer break tested the seams. Back in the apartment now with actual furniture. A thrift store couch that sagged like old dreams. We chased internships. Me at a sports clinic, taping ankles and dreaming pro. Him shadowing at the DA's office, eyes on reform. Romance wove through the grind. Picnics by the river, where we'd skip stones and stories of futures. Coaching gigs, law reviews, a cabin upstate someday. But the axe fell mid-July, a phone call shattering the idyll. Elliot? It's Coach. Scout from the Browns pulled your tape. Loves the grit, but off-field noise, the distractions, might pass you over. My world tilted, the receiver slick in my palm. Xavier found me on the fire escape, knees to chest, city lights mocking below. It's him, isn't it? Dad leaking to contacts. His voice was ice over fire. No proof, but... I trailed, but proof came in waves. A buddy's whisper of Chief's word carries weight. A leaked email chain citing character concerns. The confrontation brewed for days, a storm front rolling in. We drove to the station at dusk. The building squat and sentinel, Harlan's office light a lone beacon. He looked up from paperwork, surprise softening to steel. Boys, what's this? Xavier led, voice a whip. The scout, the leak, you sabotaged L's shot. Harlan's chair creaked as he leaned back, face folding like accordion grief. Sabotaged? I called in favors to vouch. Told him you're solid. Both of you. Doubt flickered, but Xavier pressed. Then why the noise? Why us? The chief's eyes dropped, hands templed. Because I failed you once. Burning that photo. It was fear, son. Fear you'd end up like that old man's boy. Or worse. Like me, alone with regrets. The admission cracked the dam. Harlan spilling of his own youth. A college fling with a roommate buried under denial. A life of overcompensation in badges and bravado. I thought protecting the town meant protecting you from it. From me. We sat there till midnight, the station empty. Words weaving a web of wounds and wonders. Betrayal transmuted, not erased, but understood, as the byproduct of a man's war with himself. Forgive an old cop? Harlan asked finally, voice gruff. Xavier nodded, tears carving tracks. Already did. Just be better. I added quiet. For all of us. His handshake was firm, calloused palm to palm. A pact sealed in the fluorescent hum. The emotional apex crested at the county fair. Full circle. Lights twinkling like absolution. We wandered the midway, hands linked open now, the photo's ghost grinning from memory. Cotton candy dissolved on our tongues. Ferris wheel gondola swaying gentle as we kissed at the apex. Town sprawling below like a forgiven map. This is it, L. Xavier breathed. The play we called. Laughter bubbled, free and full. Fall brought vindication. The brown scout called back. Cleared the air, kid. You're in for camp. The team embraced wider, GSA meetings swelling. Harlan guest speaking on justice for the marginalized. Humanism bloomed in the margins. Potlucks where stories swapped like recipes. Alliances forged over fences once fortified. Our love, once a flicker in the burn barrel, roared steady. A bonfire of resilience, warming the cold corners. Years later, at our commitment ceremony in that same quarry. Water now a mirror of stars, friends circling like sentinels. Harlan stood best man, voice thick toasting to plays unforeseen, and hearts that catch 'em. Milford had changed, inch by inch. Pride flags on Maine, scholarships named for the lost. We built that cabin upstate eventually, weekends escaping to woodsmoke and whispers. But home was wherever we stood side by side, unbenchable. In America's vast, vexed heart, we learned victory isn't zero-sum. It's the grace to rise, together, from every fumbled line.